Welcome back to Ferocious Education. This is Ed. Today we're going to be talking once more about OCUGN or Ocugen. Now, for this company here, I did talk about it before, and if you haven't heard about them, they basically are working with Bharat Biotech to bring in Covaxin into the US and into Canada. Now, there has been some news relating towards this one. The latest was actually on November 26th, and it says, OCGN provides an update on investigational FDA application for phase 3 clinical trial. And it reads as follows. So the FDA has issued a clinical hold on the company's investigational new drug or new drug applications, IND, to evaluate the COVID-19 vaccine BBV152, also known as Covaxin, outside the United States. The FDA plans to identify specific deficiencies that are bases for clinical hold and information on how to address these deficiencies. The company expects to receive formal written communication with additional information from the FDA and plan to work with the FDA in an effort to resolve its questions as promptly as possible. Now, if we were to take a look at OCGN short interest as a percent of the float is around 24.14, so around 1/4 of the shares is sitting at the short selling side. Price over book, it's a pharmaceutical, so it is a bit overvalued. It's around 11.98. Price over sales is not available because this company isn't really strong with sales, at least not for the time being. Now, there is other news that this one followed through, such as raising more stocks or granting stocks to employees under NASDAQ rules, which is kind of something that a lot of companies do in general. An OCGN statement regarding publication of Covaxin phase 3 study results in Lancet, and it basically does talk a little bit about their efficiencies. So it does say here, Covaxin demonstrated a 77.8% overall efficiency and a 63.6% efficacy against symptomatic diseases and 65.2% efficacy against the Delta variant in phase 3 clinical trials. Nearly 25,800 participants with adverse events reported in the trial that were low, with 12.4% of subjects experiencing commonly known side effects and less than 0.5% of the subjects experiencing severe adverse effects. Now, which is consistent for the data from other vaccines that apply a whole virus technology. Both adverse events and serious adverse events reported in the vaccine groups were reported similar rates than the placebo group, and the trial was conducted in India and sponsored by Bharat Biotech. So, of course, as a part of it getting accepted into the US and Canada, there has to be a North American trial, which is what they're talking about in the newer news release on November 26, 2021. Now, if you haven't heard, there is a new variant that is coming out. I'm not going to try to talk about it exactly much, just so my YouTube video doesn't get flagged for that kind of content. But nonetheless, it is currently still on hold to see the efficacy in their comments. So I do anticipate that we're going to be knowing the efficacy of different vaccines against this variant, and the results would or might sway people towards OCGN. Let's say OCGN comes in at an efficacy of around still 60% and other vaccines drop down to 20%. OCGN or Bharat Biotech's Covaxin becomes a bit of an advantage in North America. Now, that's a little bit of a far-fetched in terms of how far we're going, trying to connect some dots here. But again, that's a very much of a risk you got to be very careful of. Now, in terms of institutional buyers, we don't see much difference happening. On the 26th, we get to see new positions being shared, but nonetheless, there's not much exodus. In fact, it's more of additions than people exiting their shares from institutional buyers' perspective. Now, before moving on, if you would like to see more contents like this, make sure to click the subscribe button and leave notifications on for this channel. Also, don't forget to drop a like to this video if you enjoyed this video so far, and you can join our Discord in the description below if you would like to chat with us. Let's move on now towards technical analysis. OCGN's technical analysis. This one is a bit straightforward. There is some indicators we're a little bit concerned about. For instance, on the moving averages, your 30 EMA is above the 10 SMA. It's not a good sign for a stock. It really shows it's more of a downtrend, but it doesn't take a genius to figure that out ever since the 2nd of November, where it did drop from 1765 to right now to around $6. Now, average directional index doesn't show you anything. Willing percent R, which is very similar to the relative strength index, is showing this price point currently to be oversold, which basically means there's more supply than there is a demand for the stock at this point. MACD is currently, or was at least more negative currently, going on towards the positive side, so it is recovering, and that's a really good sign to see. Momentum, that is actually leveling out. It's going on towards at least less negative, not positive yet, but at least less negative. But nonetheless, it's still negative at negative 2.47. Stochastic fast and stochastic slow both are kind of flat, suggesting this might be a good time to buy based on the chart, and they're not that wrong. $6 was actually many times closer to the bottom of this much seen volatility, as you get to see on my screen. Now, in terms of moving average bands, this one is anticipated to trade between 1026 and 840 in the bottom, and the Bollinger Bands are between 1413 and 453 in the bottom. Now, in terms of Fibonacci retracements, you're able to see a significant resistance at 732, 951, 1169, and 1480. Supports are 462 and 25 cents. Comes to the question to Ed, what do you think about the stock? Well, I did talk a little bit about the new variants and effectiveness, and that's going to be a big part of this stock. The next part is the FDA approval. Are they going to approve it or not? There is some kind of limitations for a vaccine that at least is made in India versus one in the US. The roadways are a lot harder for that. The lot of OCGN's plan is a bit more short-term than long-term in terms of getting this Bharat Covaxin, but the company itself is not just all about Covaxin. Currently, it seems to be all their kind of focus, but there's a lot of operations that are going in the background that are different than just Covaxin. So those are different milestones, even though they're going to be there for, or they're going to get there in a long time. It's going to be a massive delay. But nonetheless, the Covaxin kind of thing really is dependent on how effective are they to the new variants. And if I'm suspecting, or through my suspicion, I do imagine that it would be somewhat similar, but not that much higher than the other vaccines in general. And that could cause a little bit of a problem, but currently every day we move further is a different story with this pandemic and the Covaxin vaccine overall. Now, what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think that the FDA is going to give sufficient information for OCGN to go back and fix those deficiencies? Or do you think it's just mainly just a bureaucracy that is going to go on for a while until it's no longer relevant? Do you think that Covaxin would really impact OCGN's balance sheet for a long time, and especially the price over sales and the sales and revenues on over longer time? So in 5 years from now, how do you see OCGN? Do you see it as a company that is successful with different products, or it had one kind of gimmick and one kind of product that they really try to push from someone else in Covaxin? Or are they going to change their operations into more of consultancy services to bring in medical or medicines or vaccines, what have you not, into North America as they know now the process? So there's a lot of different questions there, not a lot of answers that we can get with certainty, but mention down in the comments below what you think, and have a wonderful day. Now, if you're still here on this video, make sure to drop down below and join our Discord. We have a lot of different things going on, including, for instance, members that gives picks for free. It's not pump and dumps, we just things we think about, swings, etc. We also have really exciting bots. You can actually use those ones. For instance, we're just testing out this bot, for instance, that gives you Fibonacci resistance points, activities, etc. And we have a bunch of free things, totally free. We run on tips here, and you can ask me questions, suggest stocks, etc. It's a really nice community that has been growing up very fast at a very good rate, and it's totally free. If you would like to join that one, feel free to do so in the description below, and have a wonderful day.